Corey Ellis joins us now, an Albany mayoral candidate, Democratic primarying on Tuesday. Corey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an interesting couple weeks here as we get closer to Tuesday in the city of Albany. You go back to a couple weeks ago, the mayor, the chief of police saying crime's down. Then you had some members of the community saying, well, we don't feel that way. Then you had crimes occur. I want to ask the perception issue here of how, I know we've talked broadly in the campaign about addressing public safety, but the perception aspect, how do you want to address that?
Well, it's with perception, you have to see a growth of a city. You have to see things happening, businesses opening, neighborhoods being developed. And that's when people feel like, okay, things are feeling safe. Also, you have to switch on how do you want to be visible when it comes to public safety. That's why I talked about quality life officers. They could provide that look of where, oh, something has changed here, rather than when we just say the statistics. People want to see that change. They don't want to just hear it. And that's part of that change of making sure when we have public events, there's people walking around. If we had these quality life officers that the council voted on 2 years ago, if we had them, they would be people in uniforms. They'd be like these safety people, so people could see, okay, something's different here. The city is really taking our concerns in hand. And that's when the perception would start to minimize.
Why has there been, I guess, why is the quality, you've been, talking about quality of life officers for a long time now, it feels like, right?
I even had the council pass a resolution on it, 7-point plan of quality of life.
Why hasn't there been more political will, would you say, to implement that?
You'd have to ask the mayor. The council has made, it was very clear. They voted unanimously on it. They put it in their budget memo. So the mayor controls the budget and what's spent, and just haven't done it.
Why not invest more? Because I've seen some of this conversation too, also in investigating and trying to get to the root of some of these crimes, instead of just putting more individuals, like you said, quality of life officers on the streets.
We're not investigating crimes.
I'm
in the
curious
city of Albany?
if you think there should be more of that done.
I mean, I hope we're investigating all crimes that happen. We don't get a report on investigative matters, so I hope we're investigating every crime. I hope we're being proactive when it comes to investigation of crime. Only the mayor can answer that question. The police chief, we don't meet with the police chief, talk about investigations. But if that's not happening, that's a huge, huge problem.
If elected, would you try to invest more in that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think for years I've always looked at looking at our traffic division. Our traffic division is not very well-manned, well-staffed, not manned, well-staffed. That's the first place when I would hear constituents talk about speeding and things that's happening. I always looked at, okay, we need to beef up our traffic division to have a presence where people will begin to slow down. I met with the chief years ago. He didn't want to figure out how to do that. We continue to hear, we're down, we're down, we're down. I understand that. But if you're down, then you have to look for ways to figure out how do you bridge that gap. And that's why I said the quality of life officers were one of that gap. And the reason why is because our police department gets calls for anything that 911, our police show up. They have to show up. Yeah. But what if we had calls that they didn't have to show up? That's not very what we call policing. That's the difference. Then you could free some of our men and women up to do the regular policing that is so paramount. And they're not handling these, I guess, what I would call quality of life issues.
And that goes beyond the social worker aspect?
Absolutely.
I know the council was, initially you guys wanted 20, right? And that was part of the initial proposal.
Yes, it goes beyond the social worker because these quality life officers can do that as well. They can do intakes on individuals who might just be roaming our streets. They can do those things, also be a visible presence, but also take some of those calls that are not really police urgent calls, that really are quality life calls, like noise orders, labor calls. My neighbor's music's up too loud. Quality life officer can show up to that, not a police officer. So now you don't take that police officer off his or her beat. They're still in patrol, they're still doing their job. Someone has an accident and they need a police report. Police officer shows up. If you had a quality life officer, they can show up and make that report. So now that police officer is continuing on their beat. Someone's just, lounging around. People don't know who they are. They're not committing a crime, but someone says, hey, there's someone in front of my house, or there's quality life officers can show up, assess it, and if police presence needs to be then called, rather than just pulling that officer off off their beat or off their patrol without really knowing is this a situation where police officers were warranted.
Specifically, I want to get to one of the violent incidents, and that was Wednesday with the individual that the U.S. attorney said that was attacking him with a knife. It turns out the reports are that this individual was an undocumented immigrant. And then you had mainly Republicans say, well, the city's sanctuary policies were the reason this happened. Do you agree with that?
I don't know how the sanctuary policy, unless this person was arrested and released again in the city of Albany, which I don't think that's the case. A person who's on our streets that we don't know about, how could that you apply that to sanctuary law? I'm glad the U.S. attorney was not harmed, which is foremost. But that goes back to when those things happen and the news reports it, then the perception of Albany not being safe. And last week we had a young man killed. So then that furthers that theory that Albany's not safe. But I don't think a policy of Sanctuary City had anything to do with that individual attacking or trying to attack a U.S. attorney, which is illegal. I've always said this. It's about following the law. The city and county and the state will follow the law when it comes to immigration. And I don't know why we're getting away from that. Follow the law. If our immigration departments are after someone and they have a warrant, arrest them. Arrest them. Do your due diligence. That's what it's about. We're a land of law. So I don't see the state of New York, if the feds come in and they have a warrant for someone's arrest, I don't see they're going to be arrested. And that's for any individual, resident or non-resident. And that's all for me, that's what Sanctuary City means. We're going to make the federal government follow the law if they're going to detain people and they're going to arrest people.
Anything as we get to the end of this campaign for you, anything that you would like to address for the voters?
I just would like to address that, it's a primary. You do have choices. I'm hoping that you vote for me, but we do have choice candidates. So I really want people to exercise their ability to vote because we need the city, whoever wins. We need the residents and the citizens to realize we have to come together and unite because our problems in our city, we have challenges, but we can fix those challenges. But we can only fix the challenges that we're going to be facing down the road if we stick and unite together in a real way and not just say it, but really do it with the county, with the state, and with our citizens being a part of that. Because I've always wanted to give those citizens that voice and be a part of how we move the city forward. And that is the most important thing about after the primary is over, is coming together and uniting to have one city.
How important do you see this election to be?
It's, every election is important.
Right. That's a good point.
Every election is important. So I don't see this as being any greater than the next one. For me, the importance of an election is that we still have the fundamental right to vote. We still are a free society. We still are a society that is governed by laws. And so every election, the person who wins, you want to make sure that they continue what the Constitution states, that we have the right to vote and we're governed by our laws. That's what makes the election important. Electing a person who's going to uphold the Constitution of the United States, a person who's going to make sure that your voice is heard and you're seen every single day. And that's why running for office, I said, yes, I want you to vote for me. But I really want you to vote. Get out there and exercise that constitutional right to show our future leaders and myself that you care about this democracy and you want to make sure this democracy holds.
Finally here, who are you inspired by? As just to kind of peel back another layer of Corey Ellis.
Oh, my mother. My mother. My mother didn't have a high school education. She got married young. And to see what she's done with her life, to see the family that she's raised, and to see her perseverance, I think that's where I get it from. In spite of it all, my mother has persevered. In spite of it all, my mother continues to allow her faith and belief in God that helped shape me and our family. And that inspiration from my mother is why I believe I have it in me to continue on. I love her to death. I mean, for a woman who loves so hard, faith so important to her, and family, and to just be able to say I'm Mary Ellis' son is a privilege to me. And it's my mother.
Yeah. Corey, thanks for your time. Good luck on Tuesday.
Thank you.